Today, we will explore the Anglo-French Wars in India, also known as the Carnatic Wars. The war was between four factions: British, French, the Hyderabads, and the Carnatic. Let us start with the history of Hyderabad and Carnatics. Hyderabad and Carnatics in the 18th century. With the decline of the Mughal Empire after the death of Aurangzeb in 1707, the Mughal Empire disintegrated and new Indian power entered the power struggle. The major powers were Bengal, Awadh, Hyderabad, Mysore, and the Marathas. Out of these, Bengal, Hyderabad, and Awadh were categorized as succession states since they came into being with the proclamation of autonomy by the governor. Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah established Hyderabad in 1724. He had helped Mughal Emperor Muhammad Shah in overthrowing the Said brothers. Nizamul Mulk Asaf Jah was officially still under the Mughal umbrella, but in reality, Hyderabad was essentially established as an independent state. Meanwhile, Carnatic was originally a Suba of the Mughal Deccan and came under the control of Nizam of Hyderabad. Just like Hyderabad, the deputy governor of Carnatic, known as the Nawab of Carnatic, declared themselves independent from the control of Hyderabad. Nawab Sadatullah Khan named his nephew Dost Ali as his successor. The repeat struggle for Nawabship after 1740 provided opportunity for England and France to interfere in Indian politics. The British and French rivalry. British and French were traditional rivals in Europe, and that rivalry spilled over to the trade and territories. The four power of India, the Marathas, Nizam of Hyderabad, Nawab of Carnatic, and the Sultan of Mysore were competing against each other, and this gave the English and the French the perfect opportunity to side with all the four powers of South India and play a game of divide and rule. From 1744 to 1763, a period of almost 20 years, the French and the British waged brutal wars. The First Carnatic War, 1746 to 1748. The three main reasons for the First Carnatic War. Number 1. Austrian War of Succession in Europe was taking place in 1740, and the echoes of that was felt in India as well. Number 2. English and French were fighting for expansion of colonies in the American continent. Number 3. The control of trade in India in view of the decline of the Mughal Empire. The strategy followed by the English and the French in India was to use their modern and well-disciplined modern army to interfere in the quarrels of the Indian power by supporting one against the other, thereby weakening both the Indian sides, while British and French secured territories, influences in court, or outright monetary payments. This technique of pitting one against the other was complicated because of the presence of two European powers. But after the English East India Company was the sole dominant European power in India, the divide and rule policy became easily visible. Course of the First Carnatic War. English Navy under Burnet started the war by capturing French ship in 1745. Dupleix retaliated by capturing Madras in 1746. The English and the Nawab of Carnatic, Anwaruddin Khan, formed an alliance. The Nawab and the British had about 10,000 troops, while the French had only 1,000 troops under the command of Dupleix. The English and Nawabs were defeated, and thus French were established as an European power in India. The First Carnatic War exposed the weakness of the Indian armies and the decadent old techniques of warfare and the lack of foresight in Indian politics. The Second Carnatic War, 1749 to 1754, also known as the War of Succession. There were two sides supported by the French and the British respectively. The French in Carnatic supported Chanda Sahib, and the French in Hyderabad supported Muzaffar Jung, while the British in Carnatic supported Nawab Anwaruddin and the British in Hyderabad supported Nasir Jung. Muzaffar Jung was killed accidentally, and the French raised Salabat Jung as the ruler of Hyderabad. Robert Clive and the British, on the other hand, supported Muhammad Ali for the Carnatic. Clive himself personally attacked and occupied Arcot, the capital of Carnatic, with 200 British and 300 Indian soldiers. This was the siege of Arcot, and French forces were defeated and Chanda Sahib later killed. The French settled for peace and Dupleix was recalled from India as per the British demands. This war ended with the Treaty of Pondicherry in 1754. The Third Carnatic War, 7-Year War in Europe, 1757 to 1763. The 7-Year War broke out in Europe in 1756 between Britain and France. Ayacout of the British Army defeated Count de Lally of the French forces at the decisive Battle of Wandiwash in 1760. With this, the fate of the French was sealed, and they never regained any foothold in India. Treaty of Paris was signed in 1763. This established the dominion of British over the other European powers in India. Now the task of subjugating the Indian subcontinent can begin. Anglo-French struggle and the struggle with their Indian allies taught a few valuable lessons. Number 1. In the absence of the concept of a nation and nationalism, the British could advance their plans by using the mutual quarrel between the Indian rulers. Number 2. It became clear that a modern European army could defeat the armies of India easily in a pitched battle. The refusal of Indian armies to adopt modern warfare technique led to cases where 10,000 Indian soldiers were easily defeated by just 1,000 European soldiers. Number 3. Clive showed that Indians trained in European style of warfare could be used as mercenaries. The lack of nationalism in Indians meant that they could be hired and used to create a powerful army. With this army made of Indians and vast resources from the Indian trade actually led to Indians working and paying for their own subjugation.